Alright guys, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all doing fantastic. Today I wanted to focus on a couple of things. Some of it not so recent information that appeared to have passed me by. And that's confirmation that Underground is not returning to the Division 2 and a new Apparel Event is on the horizon. I will also cover Cassie Mendoza's stock this week as well in this video towards the end. If you like this video, drop a like. If you dislike it, drop a dislike. And with that said, let's talk, people. So this isn't hot off the press news or anything, but I've not seen anyone cover this and I missed it. A couple of weeks back, community developer Anthony was streaming on Twitch, which, you know, he does pretty frequently. And of course, people in chat were asking, the usual questions like, is survival coming back? You know, are we getting the last stand type PvP mode in the future? You know, all the stuff we all want to know, right? Now, a week or so ago, I covered the question of survival when Anthony confirmed this would not be coming back. And it was in this same segment that Anthony said this.
Same thing for Underground, searching. I value those modes. Underground was my favorite mode in the Division 1. Very fun to play. But not more can be said about it and their inclusion into the sequel. Survival does exist on Division 1, but have you tried to find a game on there?
So, unfortunately, you know, it appears just like Survival, we're very unlikely going to see Underground return to the Division 2. But, you know, that's okay, I think. I say that's okay because I imagine, like most of you, I don't want copy-paste of what we had in the Division. Unless, of course, the devs cannot put modes in the game which will keep us playing. And right now, yeah, you know, I would take copy-paste right now, to be completely honest. I would happily take Resistance, Survival, Underground, whatever it is. I'd happily take that right now. But if the devs are working on something which is going to replace those, then now, of course, I want the new stuff. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this? I want you to leave it down in the comments below. Underground was one of my favourite modes in the Division, especially the random hunter spawns. I mean, they were one of the most exhilarating moments in gaming for me. Because, you know, the threat of being erased so quickly was so real. And they were so deadly and they just come out of nowhere. And you have this music and this intensity and all of this stuff that you just cannot be replicated by anything else, really. And the hunters have this air of mystery around them that no one really knows anything about, and the devs have still not really explored that too much. I mean, personally, I just don't understand how the developers decided to include hunters in, you know, the main campaign of the Division 2, and even, you know, in the open world for when we were collecting the mask, but yet didn't consider their actual use in replayable content. And I'll tell you what would make expeditions better: having random hunter spawns. I mean, it's still not going to make me play it because I just think expeditions are awful in my opinion, and you know, you guys already know that. But it would add some intensity to the mode that it doesn't currently have. And it kind of makes me laugh when I think and talk, when I talk about expeditions, because with no disrespect to the hard, you know, work people put into this mode, it's just so really bad. And anyway, so Underground not coming. Fingers crossed the developers know what they're doing here. The game drastically requires something to keep people playing on a daily basis. Modes like Underground, Resistance, Survival, you know, all of this stuff did that for the Division. And that's probably why the community, myself included, wanted these back. But let's be honest, none of us want a copy-paste job, right? I don't want the same stuff as what we had in the Division 1. Otherwise, I'd just go back and play the Division 1. I want new content that's at least, I would say, 1 million times better than Expeditions. And then, you know, if that happens, I think we'd all be happy. Anyway, moving on. And to no one's surprise, a new Apparel Event will be coming soon. Now, I wanted to cover this in today's video because, firstly, it's news. Although, I think we all expected this to come with Episode 3, so likely, you know, towards the end of January, start of February time. Now, I wanted to cover this mainly because I really want the developers to consider some actual apparel that's fitting with the game. One exception, the yellow raincoat, which is still my favourite piece of apparel so far. But in general, the apparel so far has been pretty bad. I mean, swimming shorts and stupid luminescent tops, it's just not fitting the game. And it doesn't suit it for me. I just can't take someone seriously in any game mode when they're running around with a large yellow rubber duck on their head. It's just so immersion breaking and, in my opinion, ridiculous. How about for the next Apparel Event we actually get some outfits that are fitting for the theme of being an agent of the Division? I will say the last Apparel Event, I think that's the one where we got Paratrooper and Aviator, and I think there was something else like Hatter. that was actually okay. It was much more in line with what I would like to see. So I think they should take this, make it 100 times better and cooler, and you've got a good one there. So last and least for today, I wanted to briefly go over the Cassie Mendoza stock because I think it's pretty good this week, and it's worth, there's some stuff here that's worth getting if you don't already have it. Of course, for some of you, and for me at least, for the last couple of weeks, this will depend on whether or not Cassie can be asked to actually stay where she is. Now, I don't quite understand the whole situation here, the whole 24 hours on, 32 hours off cycle of Cassie Mendoza. Now, I appreciate that's a week. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just so convoluted, and half the time, it flat out doesn't work. The amount of time it said, you've got an hour left before she'll be there, and then you go there and she's moved and she's no longer there, and then I have to try and find the snitch again. He's moved. Everyone's moving, okay? And it's just, it doesn't make sense. Now, for me, I think that Cassie Mendoza should just be like Xur from Destiny. She arrives for a limited period of time, and then she doesn't come back for another week. Or maybe you could have her come back twice a week, like on a Tuesday, and then possibly on like a Saturday, for example. For the people that, are working throughout the week and don't have time to play games until the weekend, then that should obviously, hopefully fix everyone, essentially. Everyone should have an opportunity to get what they want. And sometimes you can't appease everyone. It's not going to happen. So maybe we should have it just once a week. I don't know. But the current system, to me, it just doesn't work. It's awful. And also, I do have to say as well, what actually happened to the exotics she was due to sell? The named items, they're great and everything, but she was meant to sell exotics with, I believe it was episode 1. I believe it's saying in the patch notes it wasn't guaranteed, but, week on week or whatever, every time she decided to turn up, she might sell exotics. But that's never happened, and I don't know why, because for me personally, there's quite a lot of exotics in this game that I don't have, just because I don't have the RNG for it. So, I don't know, come on guys, you got to fix this. If you've changed your mind, devs, if you've changed your mind about the whole exotic situation, cool. But you got to communicate this, because I've not seen anything from the devs about this. I've heard a lot of people talk about this in videos, and they've said, where are the exotics? It's been months since this update was meant to come out to these exotics, and we've heard nothing. And again, it goes back to this communication. Part of the issue with this game as well is the whole communication, so it just leads into that, and that's a whole big jumbled mess. Anyway, I'm going off track. Her inventory. Firstly, we've got the designated hitter sniper, which has perfect reformation. Headshot kills increase skill repair and healing by 75% for 25 seconds. And this talent, I think it's very underused. I rarely see anyone using this talent. I certainly don't see any builds of this. And I think it's just because it requires, a headshot kill rather than just a headshot, for example. When you've got stuff like concussion, which gives you that extra damage, and it's every so often, then someone like this, which requires a kill, even in a PvE scenario, it's not quite as good. This talent would be, I think, would be too strong if it was just headshot only. You can imagine having like a rifle build or whatever, where you don't actually have to get a kill, but I'd highly recommend you try this actual talent out and try and build around it, because this talent for PvE material, it can actually work very well in specific situations. When you've got like a highly offensive sniper build where you're very squishy, you take down one NPC, you put chem launcher heal down, you'll be able to tank an extra 75% damage, which can be really, really strong, and you'll get in that tankiness, but you're still doing a lot of headshot damage with the sniper that you're using, plus the build that you've actually got. So it can be very good. I just think at the moment it's very underutilized because of the fact you have to get a kill rather than just a headshot. Next, and I'd highly recommend you pick up from Cassie this week, is the 0F's Badger Tough chest piece. This has perfectly unbreakable. 100% of max armor is repaired when your armor is depleted. Armor kits used within the next 7 seconds are not consumed. Can occur once every 60 seconds. Now, this is still very strong. This is a very strong named talent. At the moment, the meta isn't quite with Unbreakable. Unbreakable doesn't appear to be the meta right now, because I think a lot of people are going for builds which require you, clutch builds, which don't require you to have any armor. And you're meant to be sat in health, essentially, rather than armor. So it's kind of not in the meta at the moment, but you know how quickly this meta changes, and I'm pretty sure that this Unbreakable talent will become strong again at some point, or become the meta again. I guess the only real problem with this particular named talent is that it's on a Badger Tough chest piece, and that's kind of a letdown. The talent, is pretty much Nomad from the Division to some extent, and it's definitely worth picking up if you don't already have it. And lastly is the Sendoff KSG shotgun, which has perfectly rooted. All skill damage and healing is increased by 30% for 15 seconds. Once per 60 seconds, buff lost when exiting cover. So this is a really strong skill talent. And if you didn't know, this actually stacks with Rooted, which is the non-named talent. I'm not sure if this is intentional. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's not intentional. And Frederick Thylander actually said on Twitter that this wasn't intentional. But the Rooted and Perfectly Rooted are two different talents. And the system in place is not smart enough to understand the difference. So that's why they effectively stack. So I'd highly recommend you make use of this information when you're next considering a skill build that could benefit from Perfectly Rooted and Rooted together. But that's it for Cassie Mendoza stock this week. So there you have it for today's video. Sorry this has been a, kind of a lack of uploads lately. You guys know the game is kind of on a hiatus now until January, when the game and uploads should pick up more with new information coming out about episode 3, and I suspect year 2 as well. Until then though, there isn't a whole lot going on in the world of the Division. The devs have confirmed that weekly articles will be coming up where they'll be talking about sort of priority alerts, so don't worry, I'm going to be covering those. With that said, I want to say a huge thanks to you all. Depending on what happens in the next week of my personal life, my next video might be very different, and it'll give you guys an idea as to where this channel is going. Anyway, I've rambled for too long. Until the next one, Epic out.